Something that a lot of new players struggle with is throwing into the wind. And the reason they struggle with throwing into the wind is, one, they don't practice throwing into the wind, and two, they don't really know how to throw into the wind. So today I'm going to tell you how to throw into the wind, and then it's up to you to actually go and practice and throw in the wind. So the main thing that we first want to look at when we're talking about throwing into the wind is the grip on the disc. So the way that I like to grip the disc actually isn't a power grip at all. I find the power grip, your hand will slip off the edge of the disc. What I like to do is modified fan grip, or just a fan grip, you can call it. Okay, the fan grip, basically your fingers are splayed out underneath the disc. Your thumb will be along the rim, along the little ridges on the disc. Okay, and I find that sometimes, and usually I'll actually put my middle finger out into the disc. Okay, you don't really think about it, but it's something that you figure out as you go along. Okay, but like I said, I don't curl everything underneath. So it's more like that. And I find that gives me the maximum grip. Again, you want to make sure that the disc will be right in the crook of your hand. You don't want to have any gap in there at all. Okay, so right in the crook. And then you want to have a nice solid grip on it. And you're almost squeezing that middle finger is almost squeezing just behind the thumb. So you push up, you can actually feel where that middle finger is squeezing. You want to be squeezing it pretty tight. You want to have a good grip on the disc. Second thing is getting a lot of snap. First part to getting a lot of snap is having a good grip. The second part is actually snapping your wrist a lot. You'll see a lot of newer players when they start throwing, they'll hold the disc out, and then as they bring it back, then they cock the wrist back and try and snap it. Lose a lot of power that way. So the way that you actually want to snap the disc is start by cocking your wrist, and then as you bring your arm back, snap the disc through. You'll get tons of power on the disc, you'll get maximum spin, and your disc will be able to go how you want it in the wind, basically. Okay? I'll actually do some throws in the wind. It's pretty windy today. It's kind of perfect, actually, and I'll show you how that actually works. Third thing is the edge. So when I'm throwing into the wind, there's three ways I can throw. I can either throw the disc flat, right? I can either throw it inside out, for me inside out, or outside in. Throwing into the wind, directly straight up into the wind, I want to be throwing an inside out or IO throw. The reason for that is an IO throw will rise as I'm throwing it, and that's what I want. I want the disc to rise as I throw it. I want to get a lot of power on it, a lot of snap, and have the disc go as far as I want it to. I don't want to throw an outside in or an OI because it actually falls the whole time. So throwing into the wind, I don't want to be throwing something really high, which is what I need to do with an outside in because it's going to be falling. So I want to throw a nice low throw, get a nice inside out. Okay, and I'll show you the differences with those. Throwing a flat one is fine for some of the shorter throws. Okay. Fourth thing is actually the distance on the throw. So if I'm throwing a 20-yard throw or a 70-yard huck, it's going to be completely different how I approach it. The longer the disc is in the air, the more it wants to turn. Okay. An ultimate disc, if I throw an inside out, it'll want to flatten out. If I throw an outside in, eventually it'll want to flatten out as well. So on a shorter throw, I don't really have a lot of time if it's only a 20-yard throw. I can throw it flat the whole way, unless the wind is like 30 or 40 miles an hour. That's something totally different. But shorter throws generally throw it nice and flat, keep it low. Longer throws, so on a huck, you want to be throwing an inside out. Okay, disc will be rising, you'll be getting maximum distance on it because it's going to be initially cutting through the air, and then as the wind will go, it'll actually push it, cause it to flatten, and then it'll settle down nice. Again, the key to this is having tons of spin on the disc. One of the variables when you're throwing into the wind is the direction of the wind. So if I'm throwing directly into a wind, I want to throw an inside out. If I'm throwing downwind, I like to throw nice and flat or an outside in, let the wind carry it. Right? If you throw a nice high outside in, it rides on the wind and comes down. If you throw it flat, you want to put it with a little bit of an edge up. Okay, and again, just let it ride the wind. If the wind is coming in this direction, I want to be throwing it like this because the wind is going to actually push it down. If the wind is coming in this direction, again, I want to be throwing it like that, the wind will push it down. Okay? If the wind's coming this way and I have the disc up, it's going to blow it over. If the wind is coming this way and I have it up, it's going to blow over. So the way to learn this, and the way that I learned it, was just throwing. So I was out in the wind all the time, throwing as much as I could. If you go out on a windy day, don't go back inside. Stay there and throw for an hour. Learn the wind. Right? It's actually a lot of fun to throw in the wind. And in fact, when you're throwing downwind, you'll get some sweet throws that you'll never get if you don't have wind. Upwind, it's pretty tough, but if you're the person on your team that can throw upwind, you're going to be super valuable. Your team's going to want you on the field. Sometimes it's kind of boring always going upwind, but if you can get those throws off, you'll be super valuable to your team. So my tips are get out, practice in the wind, especially before a game, because every single game, the wind will be different. So learn the wind before the game, practice in the wind, and then you'll be better for the game. I'm going to show you examples of different throws in the wind, inside out, outside in, and flat. I'm going to over-exaggerate them just so you can see what the wind actually does. So some of these won't be good throws, but I just want to show you what actually happens with the disc. So you can see that one was inside out, turned, came down really nice. Just a little bit of an edge on it. This one's going to be more of an edge. So that one was actually too much edge for the wind. There's not really that much wind, and it went way too high, didn't go where I wanted it to. This is an outside in the wind, and the wind is directly in my face. So that one, the edge was very wrong. It went really far to the right. So next time I know that that's not the right throw. This one again will be an outside in, and I'm going to adjust a little bit. So that was less edge, and it actually went pretty well where I wanted it to.